It's Friday, which means Bomani Jones, ESPN, HBO, The Right Time is the podcast, joins us for our weekly conversation. I'm excited to see Bo. There he is. He's not pimping any sweatshirts of any companies that represent him. He looks very chill. He's ready for Game Theory to come back. Is it this weekend or next weekend?
Next weekend, man. We did a practice show today.
Weekend.
I just went and got a first look at the set. So 11 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, January 20th, immediately following Real Time with Bill Maher.
What does a practice run look like on your own HBO show, Bo?
It looks like a bunch of people in a conference room while I think we're actually using a projector this time and not the PlayStation, but using a projector to put onto a wall, basically the teleprompter, and we run through the show like we would do it if there was an audience. So run all the sound, run all the clips and everything else, and I go through all the scripts.
I get it that you've been on ESPN now for a minute, and I get it. People know who you are. But it still has to be pretty cool to you that you have your own HBO show.
Oh no, this is a whole different animal. like we can't pretend like these things are the same.
Yeah.
They are not. This is like dream job type of stuff here. And I had a good time doing television for ESPN for a long time, but this is something completely different.
Bomani Jones, ESPN, HBO, still cranking out the podcast too. The Right Time. We've been playing some of those promos, been listening to those. Football season, we've hit the playoffs, Bo. The NFL, this is the time that they want you to watch. This is the time that we need to be fired up to watch, I guess. But I'm struggling this weekend to get fired up for some of these games. What am I missing out on?
No, I mean, this isn't really an interesting slate of games. Like, I don't think that there's anything that anybody has to explain as to why they're not, like, super charged up. Seattle and San Francisco. I mean, I think we all feel pretty much like we know how that's going to go. The Chargers and the Jaguars. It's the Jaguars against a team with people in their own city don't even go see them play. Miami's playing with a backup quarterback and going to Buffalo. The Giants and the Vikings, and neither of us think they're any good, either side, to be honest. Baltimore's out there with a backup quarterback against Cincinnati. The only game that is like halfway, I think, like where I would say legitimately compelling is the Monday night game. That one with the Cowboys. And I mean, you got the Cowboys and Tom Brady. Like, I don't mean to be a hype beast per se, but, you know, I'll check that out.
Interesting you talk about the Ravens. And I look at Lamar Jackson, I look at the situation, and I'm glad he came out yesterday. I noticed that it was him and not the team that came out and said, hey, man, this knee injury is fairly significant. I am not 100%. I want to be out there, but I can't be out there because I'm not healthy enough to be out there. The way John Harbaugh has kind of made it sound like Lamar Jackson, with his contract situation, he doesn't have a long-term deal. He's probably going to get the franchise tag next year. You know, I don't think the Ravens have done right by Lamar Jackson, and that's kind of how John Harbaugh has been positioning this. What is your take on Lamar and kind of how the Ravens have treated him this season?
Well, I think the trick bag on this is you can't really talk about what his condition is. And so if you're frustrated because he's still hurt, it looks exactly the same as though you're frustrated because you think he could play and he's not.
Right.
We don't really know which direction it goes in. Like, we know so very little. And part of what I think makes this situation so interesting is that since Lamar doesn't have an agent, the leak game doesn't work the same way.
Yes.
Right? Like, he doesn't have somebody, like, somebody wrote something for the show, for this practice show that he did. And that's like, see, that's the thing when you don't have an agent. We could just skip the step of, I'll go run this by my client. Right? Like, that's what's going on with Lamar doesn't understand why he can't get a guaranteed deal. The Ravens don't understand why Lamar thinks they as stupid as Cleveland. I understand where everybody involved in this is coming from. But once he was hurt, I think the Ravens would have been wise at every turn to sound supportive of him because there's no reason for you to do anything otherwise.
Yeah, to me, I would, again, appreciate, injury information in college football is non-existent. And it seemed like they were painting Jackson into a corner that made it sound like he was leaving the Ravens out to dry. And, Bo, he wouldn't be out this many games if he could be back out there.
Yeah, well, what I don't understand about it is if you're the Ravens, this long-term contract discussion is moot as far as you're concerned if you're them, because you got at least 2 years of control with the franchise team. Right? So, like, Lamar says he's not going to play. Okay, you know what? That might be great because you're going to be our quarterback next year anyway. I don't see a circumstance under which he's not the quarterback there unless they trade him for some absurd package that they get back. But they built everything around him. He has every bit of leverage over them because they built this around him because they've treated him like the guy that's going to be the quarterback for the next 10 years. So they need to do the things that make it such that he could be the quarterback for the next 10 years. And if he doesn't think he should be out there playing right now, then he probably shouldn't be out there playing right now. Like, one thing that throws me off about football teams is they have conditioned these dudes so strongly to try to play through anything that I don't understand why they don't believe it when one of them says, actually, no, I can't do this.
And not just for 1 week in Jackson's case, but I think it's 6 at this point. So to me, it doesn't really make any sense. Bomani Jones, HBO, ESPN. The Right Time is the podcast, joining us here on the Heister Automotive Group Hotline. Joe Elvis is out today. I'm Joe Giglio. The other fascinating quarterback issue, I think, Bo, is Tom Brady, you mentioned, is in. Aaron Rodgers isn't. I got to tell you, man, I am ready for both of them to get on up out of here. I am ready to talk about Josh Allen. I'm ready to talk about Patrick Mahomes. I'm ready to talk about Joey Burrow. I don't care about Tommy B anymore. I don't care about Rodgers. I don't want to spend the offseason, sifting through his ayahuasca tea leaves. Brady needs to really get out of the paint, in my opinion. Made a huge mistake in coming back this season in his own personal life. Forget what it turned into. You did all that for 8 and 9? That was it.
You traded your family for 8 and 9.
An NFC South title that you wouldn't even Ron Rivera's got an NFC South ring. Tom Brady ain't got no room for an NFC South ring. Come on.
No, the thing about them, and this kind of gets you into like an extended conversation about somebody like LeBron James. Just because you can't keep playing doesn't mean that you should. Like, the counter argument to that, like, there's the argument and the counter argument in the case of Michael Jordan, who twice walked away while he could still play, but then ultimately wound up coming back because he was a fiend for it and he couldn't walk away. With Aaron Rodgers, Dominique Foxworth made this point, and I think that this is a fair one. And he's just like, you got to realize what a violent game this is. And the offseason, and like once you get done with it, how exhausted you wind up. It's not ridiculous for him to need some time to go back and forth and to think about this. Like with him, that's one thing, even though he didn't play particularly well this season. With Tom Brady, I'm just like, what else is there to do, man? Like what more? There is nothing. Like, think about this with Tom Brady. Bill Russell has 11 championships. Will we talk about him any differently if he only had 10 or maybe 9? No, it'd be exactly the same. What in the world is an 8th championship going to do for Tom Brady? Is it 8? I think it's 8. What in the world is that going to do for him?
Especially if he gets it next year with, say, even the Raiders or the Niners or the Dolphins. Okay, cool, but you've already done that. You've already left Belichick. You've already won one without him. And that's why I don't believe – I know you're not supposed to believe in the Cowboys in the playoffs, but that's why I think the Bucs are going to lose a game on Monday.
Well, I mean, if the Cowboys lost this game –
You did not grow up a Cowboys fan, right?
No, I did not.
Your Texas fandom is limited, used to be, to the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
If the Cowboys lose that game, it would not be ridiculous to fire the coach. Like, that's a game that they absolutely should win. I don't think there will be any defense. I don't care what happened in the first week of the season. They should win this game. The big thing for me is that Tampa can't stop anybody from running the ball. So, like, just pound them and pound them. The problem I think the Cowboys have, though, with that sort of strategy is that Tony Pollard is not the pound them guy. Zeke is, and that dude is finished.
Yeah, look, they won games by running the football and playing defense when Dak Prescott was sidelined. And we were talking about Cooper Rush as if he was some sort of revelation, when really he was just not turning the ball over and not making mistakes and letting Micah Parsons, who in my opinion should have been the MVP of the league this year. Like, That's how good he is. We'll never give an MVP to a defensive guy again. But think about what he did when Prescott was sidelined and it looked like the Cowboys season was going to be in the toast.
Yeah, no. I mean, Micah Parsons. The Cowboys haven't had a defensive player of that echelon at any position since Deion Sanders left.
Okay.
And before that, you're talking about, like, what, Randy White? Who are we talking about that they've had that's anywhere near as amazing
I
as
don't
that dude is?
know how long or how much we assigned Charles Haley's career to the Cowboys, but Haley was the difference maker when you said the last time they had somebody like that, just because it was a pass rusher position. But yeah, I mean, Haley was Niners.
But I would say this about Charles Haley. There was never a time while we watched Charles Haley that we asked ourselves, when's the last time we saw a guy like this?
Yeah, it's
right.
Fair.
Like that. He didn't inspire at the very least in this way. Like, they've got dudes. They have put together a team. Prescott is a very good quarterback, right? And if you need him to win a game, he can win a game for you. He can also lose a game for you. And what they got to do is cross their fingers and hope that they can go 4 games without him losing one for them. What's wild to me, though, about when I watch the Cowboys, and maybe this is anecdotal, but it seems like when he's playing badly, he's also throwing the ball every down. Like, it's not like they see him out there stinking and be like, wow, maybe we ought to lean on the run game a little bit. No, they get like Roy Williams. Well, play faster, damn it. Right? Like, if what we're doing ain't working, we're going to do it harder.
The Galaxy brain will get you every time, Bo. Bomani Jones, Game Theory, returns next Sunday, HBO, 11 p.m. You can always obviously download it and watch it at a more reasonable hour, Bo, which you know my old ass will do. You have a preview, though, for us? What will be on the first week of Game Theory?
Oh, man, we are going to look at 20 years of LeBron James in the NBA. We're going to have your topical material for you, talk about what's going on with the week. We got more stuff with me out there in the streets. Talking to the locals.
My favorite part of last year, St. Pete, down in Jersey City. I love that episode.
Yeah, everybody's favorite part is the part that requires me to freeze my ass off. like every week, I was like, boy, I sure hope people stop liking this and like something that we can do indoors. Nope. I've been watching those clips, man. My face is tight, I tell you, tight.
Bomani Jones, we'll talk to you. Joe will be back next week, so we'll talk to you next Friday, and we'll all check you out on HBO next week as well. Thanks, Bo.
All right, man. You guys be good.